Hello everyone. Today we will do an AI assisted migration for Workspace using Model as a Service from Huawei Cloud. So first, here we are at the console. We're gonna do a few checks. We're gonna first enter the Model as a Service page in Huawei Cloud. We want to configure some API keys to configure our editor. We will need our editor to generate the automations. To do so, we'll click on Create API Keys. For this key, we will name it Demo, and we'll set unrestricted permissions. For your use case, it is recommended to limit the permissions. Here we copy the API key, and we will go to the editor. In this case, Visual Studio Code, and we will install an extension called Continue. Continue is an open source solution to have an agent in our code editor. This solution integrates very well with Model as a Service in Huawei Cloud. To do so, we'll click on Local Config, then in the gear icons, and here I have an example configuration. Please make sure that your configuration looks like this and paste the API keys in the defined space. Now we need to configure the models so that continue can call them. We will configure DeepSeek version for Flash, and to do so, we will copy the API URL into the API base field, like this. We need to repeat the same process for each model that we want to add, and then keep the model parameter, and paste the model parameter in the model field. We're gonna repeat the process for the GLM 5.1 model. Once we finish this, we can close the configuration, and we can click on Reload Configuration. Once it says config refreshed, we can start asking our agent some questions. So we will start by creating a new chat, clicking the plus button, and then we will write the prompt. Now we have prepared an environment with some installation files. These installation files in this example are the customer requirements for the migration. For Workspace, the best way to do a migration is just to install everything in a fresh image. So we're going to prompt it to please review the installation files in this Workspace and write the installation scripts. This is also very useful for data to ask the AI to automate all the setup that the customer requires us. So I will ask for a .bat or a PowerShell script to automatically install all the customer application. In this case, we have 4 applications. However, we could have many more, and in those cases, it will be very useful to use the AI. As you can see, it found some installation files, and it generated first a PowerShell script. Each time an AI agent generates a script, we must be reviewing each step of the process. In this case, it seems that the PowerShell script is all in order. Now we will review the .bat file that it generated. Now, as we can see, the AI is generating a summary of how to execute the tools it created. After a quick human review, we will also ask the AI agent to review the scripts itself, in case the AI agent is capable of finding its own errors. While the agent is generating the test, we will commit the current state of the files to keep track of what the agent does. Right now, we can see that the agent is trying to edit the install all file. And we can also see that the agent failed to call the tool properly and failed to edit the file. Instead of editing the file, it just overwrites its contents. That is why I refuse the change. This is also a very good example of how we should review each step of the way when using AI in these processes. Now we're going to ask it to package the script in a zip file to then upload in an OBS bucket. This is done in order to facilitate the process of downloading the file into our Workspace desktop. First, we can see that it made a mistake. It thought that the shell that we are currently using is a Windows shell. However, I just correct him and told him that we are using a Linux Ubuntu shell. Now it's finished successfully generating the zip file. Now we're going to tell the AI to help us uploading the zip file to an OBS bucket. Not going to tell him which bucket to use. So it's something that the agents should realize itself. This time also, as you can see, we are using a different agent. This time we're using client extension as an agent, but with the same model arts model. Also, we do a quick check in the terminal to check if we have the required CLI for the agent to use. In this prompt, I also instructed the agent to get familiar with the CLI first, since the AI wasn't trained for this kind of task in the past. At this point, we can see that the AI successfully identified the buckets available. Right now, it is uploading the file to the OBS bucket. Now that the upload is completed, it will check for the status of the file. Now the upload of the file is complete. Now we're going to validate if the file is actually in the OBS bucket. So according to the information generated by our agent, it should be located in the Any Files bucket. And the name should be the same as in our local directories. Here we can see that the file successfully uploaded. Now we're going to head to the Workspace console and purchase a desktop. Here I have a prepared image, a basic image to install the software. We're going to select custom purchase and then pay per use. We can deploy in any availability zone. I will select the lowest flavor possible for this image. Here I will select the image I have already prepared. You can check the Huawei Cloud documentation if you want to prepare your own image. We're going to click on Next. configure the network for the VDI, and we are going to set a high bandwidth because we want to download all the installation files into the VDI. Then we're going to select the user. Here I already have a user created for this purpose. We're going to set a name for the VDI. You can set any name you want, and then click on confirm. Then buy now. Now, while the workspace is loading, we can check other configurations on our machine to be able to connect. So we're going to go to tenant configuration in basic settings, and we're going to copy this URL that appears here. Then we're going to open our client of Huawei Cloud Workspace. And now we will set up the internet access address in our client. In my case, as you can see, I have already configured it. Now I'm going to update my credentials. This is a required step for each new user you create in Workspace. Once this is done, we can log in again. And as you can see, still don't have any cloud resources. That is why the desktop is still in creation process. We will wait until the desktop is created. Now the desktop is created and running, so we can log in using our client. Now we are automatically logging into the only workspace desktop we have for this user. Also, please note that the first time that we boot into our desktop, the login time will be longer since Huawei Cloud Workspace will be setting up our environment. To unlock the desktop, we need to click on the unlock button on the latency indicator. Then we will be prompted again to put our password. This is the same password that we use for our workspace user. As I told you before, this will take some time until the desktop fully boots up. While it does that, we can be preparing the link to share the installation files into our workspace image. Now we're in the workspace, so we can open the browser to download the files. To be able to download the installation files into our Workspace desktop, we must first configure the clipboard redirection policy. Please follow these steps to do so. Once we've done it, we can return to our desktop client. In our desktop client, we must disconnect from the current machine and log in back again. Now we can get the share link from OBS of the zip file that we want to download. Here we click copy link and then paste it in the Windows browser. Click enter to start the download process. Once the file is downloaded, we extract the script into the downloads folder. We can use any other folder if you want. Now that we have the script, we must open this folder in CMD, and we can run the bat file by using the following command. As you can see, it is requesting administrator privileges. Once we give administration privilege, it starts running the PowerShell script. As you can see, the installation finished, but we have one error. AI is not perfect to predict all errors that could happen. However, as you can see, most of it got installed correctly, so we only have to do one manual installations. This can speed up the process a lot for installations of a lot of software. In this case, we will manually configure the Java that the customer required in this example. Once all the software installation finished and the data backup finishes, we can move on to generate an image with the current configuration. We can close everything and go back to the console. In Huawei Cloud Console, we must head to the Workspace service. Here in the desktop we created, we can select images and create our image. Configure the image name, select the enterprise project, and select that we want to have encapsulation. This will help us to provide the customer with custom image for each user. This process will make the BDI unavailable and will take some time. Now that the image creation finished, we can check the created image and delete our desktop. Also, now the workspace migration is complete. Thank you for watching.